to Parents Make a Difference. I'm your host, Josie PV. Today, I'm excited for my guest to share her story with you. When I heard it the first time, I truly could not believe. I could not believe it. It should be a movie. I was inspired by her willingness to believe she could overcome and her openness to forgive when most of us wouldn't have. From near death experiences in raising her children in poverty, I would like to welcome a dear friend of mine, Leslie Caldwell. Thank you for joining us, Leslie.
Thank you for having me, Josie.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, that's an open question. Um, I I started out in the medical field. I went to U of T. I did all my studies. I worked in a downtown hospital for 12 years, and our son was born with a kidney problem, and it was in the brain stem, and we didn't get a transplant in time, and he passed away. And I just couldn't go back to, because I worked in the NICU, and I just couldn't go back to the place where my son passed. So all my education, everything that I knew as a career really was gone. And I can honestly say I've had a lot of turmoil in my life, but nothing has put me on my back and on my butt more than the death of a child. It was devastating. It was absolutely devastating. And I'd say that probably affected my life most. And you always ask why me? And I remember I had a feeling if I could have kicked God in the shins, I would have, because, I worked in a downtown hospital and I saw people who didn't want babies, and there was so much, turmoil. And I'm thinking, here I am married and planning a child, and God took my child. And but then on the positive, I ended up being a wish granter for a company that gives terminal children their final wishes.
Mm.
And I probably would have never done that, or I would have never even gone down that avenue if I hadn't lost my son, Brett. So it was so inspiring to meet children who were terminally ill, or they were going to have a lifelong uphill battle, even if they weren't going to pass, that we gave them their wishes. And some of them some were basic and some were wonderful trips, but it was an absolute joy and still a huge part of my life to be called a wish granter. And you just meet these children, and whatever they want, you make it come about. And I think if Brett hadn't passed, I would have never reached out and helped families that were in my position previously. So that was probably a very big dent in my armor very early in my life. It really it shaped me. I appreciate my children more. I realize how special they are, and you don't sweat the small stuff, and you don't worry about superficial things like the length or the color of their hair when they're teenagers, because they're here. We've got them. They are here to be enjoyed and cherished. And I think losing a child makes you appreciate the following children so much more. And parents really can't appreciate what I did, because the death of a child is something so devastating and so severe that my words probably would never even register with most parents.
Yeah, that is very, very hard. Very. How many kids do you have?
Well, I have a few. um I have Brett. I do count Brett, and I do have a tattoo of a hug and kiss on my wrist to remind me of my angel every day. And then I had two more boys, and then I was pregnant with twins, and one twin died in utero. So Shelby, my only girl, came very, very early, because the body was trying to expel the dead child in utero, and Shelby was born also. So she was born very early, very small preemie, and she gave us a lot of grief and a lot of sick kids visits, and she has an immune deficiency. But she should be blind, deaf, and mentally handicapped for the week she was born, and she has none of it. She has no glasses, she has no hearing aids,
Mhm.
and she has just finished her master's degree and moving out to Dalhousie, and her partner are starting even the further education of PhDs. So very, very proud of her, and beat all odds, and is such uh, a fighter to be here. And then I did take in children that needed a parent at the time when they were in public school and high school and didn't have a family. So I took in a few children on top of the three that I had.
Well, I know you've got such a huge heart. So I'm not surprised by that. You've got one of the biggest hearts that I've seen.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
you enter a room, you just shine. You just, something about you, just love.
Thank you, dear. There love is everywhere. You just have to look for it.
So as you move into your story, sharing with us your story, so can you let us know how many years were you married with your husband at the time before you got really sick?
13 years,
Mm.
and I had a rare blood disorder, and I needed a hysterectomy. And with all the pregnancies I have had, he should have done a full, open operation, and he did it laparoscopically. And it went totally sideways, Josie. He ended up ripping half the bladder out of my body when he took out the uterus, because of all of the cesareans I had had. There was adhesions that the uterus and the bladder had stuck together, and he didn't gently separate them and take the uterus out. He just pulled the uterus out, and everything that was stuck to it came with the uterus. So, and he didn't tell me. So I was in the OR for over 12 hours. I remember waking up in the Trendelenburg, which is your feet above your head to keep all the blood running to your heart better, and all the bags of blood hanging. And I said to him, I haven't gone to the washroom in 3 days. I know there's something wrong. And he still sent me home, never told me what happened in the OR. And with my medical background, I knew I was going septic. So I called my family doctor, and I diagnosed myself. Thank God. He sent me to another hospital. He sent me out to Hamilton. And that's where I found out that my bladder had, was half of it was missing. It had been cauterized to the point no nerves work it anymore. I don't have any bladder feeling to this day. And I got really sick. I ended up going downhill. I ended up getting bilateral pneumonia. I ended up, I knew I was going to die that day. And I don't know if you remember the movie. I think it was Touched by an Angel, where there was like an angel of death. Remember, it was a
Mm.
man. He was blonde hair and dressed in black. It is true. It is so true. I knew all day I was going to die. And I was telling people taking my blood, I was telling absolutely everybody, please watch over me because I'm going to die today. I knew. And I called my husband, who I couldn't find. He had been out, and couldn't get a hold of him. I finally got him, and I said, "You've got to watch over me tonight because I'm going to die. People are going to think I'm sleeping. I'm going to be dead." And sure enough, right at 2 a.m., the rigor set in. I remember turning to my roommate and apologizing because I knew the light was going to be coming on. And I can tell you, passing away was, I can still remember it till today. It was the most beautiful thing I have ever experienced. And they put something heavy on the bed, and it was over my left leg. And
Mhm.
I was literally seeing them working on me, but I wasn't there to tell them, like, get that thing off my leg.
Mhm.
And it was so warm. I don't remember a bright light or anything that people say, but I remember it being, oh. And then I went, but your kids. And then I would go, but this is so nice, but your kids. And I remember making a choice to come back, and it was for the children because they were 5, 3, and 18 months old, and a very sick 18 months. And but I made a choice to come back. But I remember it being so beautiful, Josie. I
Mm.
don't know. I still have not forgotten how it was warm. It was like laying on a beach with the sun on you. Anyways, I was in the hospital. I was in ICU. It was a total of 4 months and in a coma. I was really sick from a freaking hysterectomy. This is where it went. And I came home, and within the first 36 hours, my husband told me he had left with my best friend while I was sick, and he told me I was supposed to die, and I didn't. And I guess he panicked. He had 3 kids, and they didn't expect me to make it. So here I was just out of the hospital, and the 2 people that I would have done anything for was my best friend, my best girlfriend, and my husband had betrayed me. So it was quite hard. It was a small town. Absolutely everybody knew. And but because they knew I had a lot of support, and literally God has me in his hands at all times. When you think it's really bad, God has been there with me, and every lemon has turned into lemonade. And I know it's not because it's me, it's because I've asked God to be there with me. And absolutely everything has turned out for the best. If you could not pay me $1 million to go back to what I think was the best,
Yeah.
because God put me on a path that I knew didn't even exist, but it was for the best. I have an amazing life. I am so blessed. And I look back and think, God put me right where I am supposed to be. I am blooming right where I am planted. It is, you know, I do believe everything happens for a reason. I do believe that I am looked after, that like I'm a Ming vase in God's hands, that I am well protected, that I'll always land on my feet. And even though I think it's bad, it's not bad, because God has another plan for me that's better. So I always think, wow, I thought this was good. So I know things are going to be better because I'm looked after, because I am going to be okay. So even though I was a single mom and I had 3 kids, and I was 84 pounds, I had been in bed for so long, I had lost the ability to walk, and I was in a wheelchair, all was okay.
What were you telling yourself? Is that what you were saying? What were the exact words you were telling yourself? Because, wow, I don't think half of us have even gone through that much in our life, but you were resilient. You overcame. I mean, they don't know um, all the great things that happened after, but at that moment, what were you telling yourself when you didn't know what the future was going to hold? Because that was pretty grim. That was pretty scary.
In the first few weeks, I think I was numb. I think I was scared. I i actually kept believing this will be fixed. There's no way this would be happening. This is not, I really was still probably not in reality, Josie. I kept thinking, I went into the hospital and I come out like this. I really didn't register. And then when it did, it hit me that it was the betrayal. And then it hit me that, well, there's me and the children. We have to make it. And we just did. It didn't dawn on me to sit and have pity, or to cry, or I had to carry on. I had 3 children. They needed to be fed, and got to school, and go to Sunday school on Sundays, and get to sports on Saturdays. And I just knew I could do it. I don't know how I knew. I just knew. I went to church. I had such strong blind faith that God would look after me. It didn't dawn on me, honestly, never dawned on me that anything negative was going to happen. I always knew it'll be okay. I
I
don't know how or why, but I had strength. I just knew everything was going to be okay. And I talked to God, and I made deals, and I just said, please help me, and I will be or do anything for you. But just show me you're with me. And there were so many signs that I was never alone. I had absolute faith that I wasn't alone. I knew he was with me, and I just knew I'd be okay because I had asked for help. And it was amazing, when you look for signs, the signs are all there. And I asked just to let him know he was with me. God was with me, and in every shape, way, and form, I knew I wasn't alone. So I carried on, and a day turned into a month, that turned into a year. That 13 years later, I had raised my kids. They all successful, off to post-secondary education,
Mm.
and I exhaled. I made it, but it was I say a blind faith because I didn't see God, but I felt God, and
Yeah,
I knew He was there with me, and I had a calmness about me that, I think this is bad, but obviously it's going to be okay because God is with me.
I remember you saying when things didn't work out with your husband, the self talk that you would say to yourself, because this is all part of your self talk, right? What are you saying back to yourself as you're believing that God has still something great, even greater? Do you remember what you told me when you said, well, if
Yeah, my friends around me would be so worried or crying, and I'm like, it's okay, because I always knew I went up every notch. So I would say to myself, my goodness, I thought this was good, but that means there's something better coming, because I was willing to settle for that level. And then life would change and that level was shattered. And then I would say to myself, that's okay, because I thought this was good. That means something better's coming. And 100% of the time, something better came. And then that better would be shattered. And I'm like, oh my God, there's something better coming, because I was always going to be happy with whatever I had, and then it would be taken away, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to a better level, I'm going to something better. And people would look at me and say, like, Leslie, you're using a food bank, you're really not doing that well. And I'm saying, well, I thought this was pretty good, so this means that there's something better coming. Like, I used to pay my bills, like I he left, finances were very, very bad, and I had 3 kids to raise, I had a home to run. So I used to throw all the bills up in the air, and whichever ones landed face up, that's the ones I paid that
Mm,
month.
mm.
And I remember Bell called, and they were saying I hadn't paid the bill, and I told them of my accounting system. That I stand on the stairs and I throw the bills in the air, whichever ones landed face up got paid. And I said, I don't know how it works, but by the end of the year, everything's paid, and I'm sure you'll be face up next month. And like, the lady didn't know what to say.
Yeah, they never got that response.
I was just, saying, don't worry, I'm sure you'll be face up next month. And, and here I am, and I'm financially very secure right now. And the kids all have done, their schooling, and I've got money in the bank. And so throwing those bills in the air at that time got me through, and everything worked out well. So I did probably look literally insane or crazy, because people, I think, if you were looking from the outside in, thought she doesn't have a grasp on reality because her life is really bad. I would be saying to myself, oh my God, there's something better coming to me now. This is just going to be amazing. I was really thinking I was, in the groove, and I was, crawling along, when then I get like this snakes and ladders game, and I get a huge ladder and I go to another level.
Yes, yes. Now you've been blessed with being married to a great man because you got
Yes.
remarried.
Yes, I
And
did.
I always say, oh my gosh, he's amazing. He's amazing. I know he does so many things for you and buy you these little gifts and surprise you with these little gifts here and there, and just you can tell he just he adores you, he loves you, and I'm thinking, wow, it's so beautiful to see. And I I remember asking you because I saw that you were at a place where you forgave your first husband and that you were having a good
Absolutely.
relationship with him, right?
Yeah.
And
And yeah, absolutely. Why? Nobody has given me a reason to carry anger. I don't see a benefit. I don't see an advantage. So I'm the one who will have ulcers or heart palpitations or wrinkles or stress and less sleep and a chip on my shoulder. He's not going to bed worrying about me. Why would I do it? And I don't see a benefit of carrying a grudge. I don't see a benefit or an advantage of staying angry. So let it go, because you're not letting him quote off the hook. You're giving yourself inner peace. And I deserve that. I don't wish him any ill. Whatever is meant to be, God has that in his plan. But my plan is to be happy. So why would I stay angry? Because it doesn't, there's no benefit in me to stay angry. So yes, we've had many years of Christmases together and all the birthdays, and
Yeah.
it's so much better for the children. The children don't have to rush from one house and then go to another house, or not remember to talk about this, or at another house. Why not make family memories enjoyable? And I wish them all the best. And I let the anger go, and look what came into my life. So I don't treat all men the same. Just because I was having one bad relationship doesn't mean that every man will be like that. And none of them should be held under the responsibility of one person's actions. Doesn't, you just don't do that. So I kept my heart open. I worry about him. I'm still making sure he's got his COVID vaccine, and I don't want anything ever bad to happen to either one of them. But I don't see what's the use in carrying anger and talking negatively about them, because I've carried on, and those past actions don't affect my life today. I don't see a benefit in doing it. I don't see any reason. I don't see any positive action reaction for carrying anger. It doesn't do you any good.
How did you get to that point though? Some people, they might be going through something that's really hard to let go. Was it that self-talk that you kept saying to yourself that you got to a point where you can give in and be ready to forgive, asking God for help? What did you do? Do you recall?
I don't remember. I know I don't remember it being difficult. It was very it's just common sense. This is not a big decision, honestly, Josie. It wasn't hard at all.
Wow.
It wasn't hard. It was just common sense. I really do say, show me the positives of carrying anger. Show me a good reason how it's going to benefit me to carry regret, anger, revenge. None of that helps me.
You're
So
right.
why would I hurt myself?
You know what? And I had asked you if you forgave him before you met Michael or after you met Michael.
Oh, long before.
I know. And I thought, wow, that's because that's why you brought more great things in your life, because you were able to let go of that anger. Because if you were an angry person, and you had every right to be, but if you are angry, sometimes you're closing doors to more great things coming into your life.
Absolutely. That's why you let it go, because my personality of real Leslie, rather than the clouded Leslie of negativity, shone through to Michael, and we connected. And just in life, in business, it let me grow in friendships, in love, in work. Everything is authentic about the way I was born and the way I was meant to be on the path my parents built me, that my ex-husband did not shadow my life, and he did not contour my life. I contoured my life. I'm my own destiny. This is the way I was raised, and this is the path I'm going to stay on. That negativity will not shape me. It will not be my identity, is that I'm a bitter, negative person. I'm happy.
Yes, you are. Oh my gosh. And your laughter, it fills up a room. It's unique, and we hear it from afar.
I know. It's it is. I got that from my mom. My mother, after I remember the TV was broken, and the TV repairman came, and I remember my mom hugging him at the door and saying, "Oh my God, I'm so glad to see you. These kids need the TV back." And my mom laughed and hugged and was so open and loving
Yeah.
that that was my yardstick. Was my mom hugged everybody, anybody and everybody. My that was the way I was raised. That you were just openly loving.
Oh, you
Yeah.
absolutely are. Oh my gosh, you absolutely are.
Thank you, darling. So I got my mother's laugh. We were in
Yes.
stereo in many years.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Leslie, for allowing us into your life. I share your story with so many people in my life because I want to give them hope. No matter how hard it is, there is hope. Your life story teaches that faith in knowing that God wants great things for us and is working all for our good is of great importance. That to ourselves, we should be speaking that to ourselves, even in the darkest of moments. And I know you're going through something right now. You're overcoming cancer, you're working through it, and that too, with God's help, with God's help,
Absolutely.
you're
I'm stage 4, and I see myself growing old. I see myself that I will be here and I'll be having many, many, many more birthdays. And as I say, I don't know how, but it will happen. And I see the Pac-Man cells just eating up the cancer. I do a visualization. I have talked to God. I do ask for more time, and I just enjoy every day. And I think people should learn that you could be me. You could be having cancer, and don't waste a day, not a day. And being angry or being sad is wasting, you'll never get back those days, hours, or minutes. And don't waste them because you don't know what tomorrow's diagnosis is going to be. So enjoy life, choose to be happy. It's actually a choice. It takes energy to be mad or sad, and it takes energy to be happy. Choose happy, choose content, choose to believe that you can be everything you want to be. And once you believe it, it happens. It comes to you because you've got God with you, and you know you've asked for help, and it happens. But you have to believe it. You can't be superficial and just say, "Oh, I hope he gives it to me." No, you got to believe he is going to give it to you, and it's amazing how that happens. I really am going to be okay.
You've overcome so much. And I know that you've even inspired me while I was going through my cancer and sharing stories of people who overcame when
Yeah.
they were given no hope. And I would use those stories and I'd keep them in front of me to keep me going. And your willingness to forgive. Oh my gosh, that's so powerful. Just that lesson in itself from your life. Um, we need to be able to forgive. There's so much power in that. It opens doors to a richer life. And that's why your life is so colorful, so rich, so beautiful. All the stories that you have to share. And there's, I'm sure, more stories that I didn't even hear about uh, from your life. There was new things I learned today. But I am so inspired by your story. So inspired. I thank you. Parents, know that whatever you might be going through, you can overcome. Choose the words you say to yourself. Choose faith. Choose to turn to God and ask Him into your life. Live your life knowing that your kids are watching and your example will empower your children to overcome also. Thank you so much, Leslie. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, dear.
Parents, you make a difference.